Hey guys, back with another Basics with Brian. We're going to wrap up the series and answer some of your questions. If you're interested in getting into plowing, I started out working for a subcontractor. That might be your best bet. Using their equipment, they'll actually teach you some techniques on their property. You'll get to use their equipment so you can see what works best. That's how I started out. I suggest that instead of going out and spending the money, trying that first. Obviously, being able to and willing to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning is another thing, as most contracts are going to have to be done before the employees get to work. I started working at a snowplow manufacturer. I wanted some extra money, and this was just a good opportunity for me to get in and try. And I already had a truck, so just putting an accessory on my truck was advantageous for me. So I purchased a straight blade, and that was enough. But then I learned how much more efficient I could be with the other V plows and power wing plows. When I first started out, I was just focused on plowing. I actually only did driveways. So that's a good way to start too, is smaller customers. So for sidewalks, I would go with the Drop Pro. The Drop will lay it right down the center of the sidewalk, where a broadcast spreader will push it towards the outside. And if you're next to a building or a high snowbank, the salt seems to accumulate there, and I prefer it to be more in the center of the sidewalk. I prefer the stainless, mainly just because of the look. I think it looks better, but they're both going to perform equally the same. As long as they're covered, that's a key thing, and also that you're emptying the salt out after every single use, rinsing as much as possible. You might want to check Power Match to make sure that the model will fit your specific use and vehicle. So as far as pricing, that can be a tricky one. I personally have always charged by the pound. I feel that that's the fairest, because sometimes you use more, sometimes you use less. And if I'm using less, I'm going to pass that on to the customer, and they really appreciate that. I personally use, it's called Super Sacks in 2,000 pounds. It comes treated. I buy it from a local landscaper in the area. So you're getting a discount because it's bulk material, but it's kept dry. It's in the sack. It's bagged. It's handy for me to use with the skid loader. I could pick up 4 to 5 Super Sacks at a time. It's just easier for me to have the bulk salt at my property that's closed up versus having a pile or having to rely on someone being open when I want it at 2 o'clock in the morning to go fill my hopper. I prefer to use a truck and a skid loader together. And what you choose would depend on what properties you have. Maybe 2 skid loaders works better for you, or 2 trucks if you're further away. So you can't drive a skid loader 20 miles, but you could take it maybe a couple blocks. And that is the best thing anyways. When you're looking at booking your properties, you want to try to localize. So you're not running and wasting most of your time driving from one place to another. I personally run a skid loader and a plow at my biggest account. I use the truck for the smallest one, finish up with that. While the skid loader is already working, by the time I show up, it's ready to salt, and then I work on the sidewalks. I hope you enjoyed these series as much as I did. I enjoyed taking time out of my day to talk plowing, as I really enjoy doing it. Hopefully you learned something along the way. And a little shout out, I'm not going away. You can watch me on Training Camp with Brian. Look on the SnowX social channels for this phase.